I have today for you 4 best holistic lifestyle habits that you can start doing today. Now, this very moment. Okay, maybe after I share them with you. But I hope you'll stick around because these are not conventional, like just step-by-step how-tos. I tend to look at habits as something that we create with practice. And so we need to look at our practices. So really this is about 4 practices you can begin doing today to help you live more empowered, more holistically, more connected to your true nature. Welcome to the channel. I'm Kim Marie. I am a transformational life and leadership coach, supporting women to feel more empowered and aligned with their true nature on their unique path on their terms. All right, so let's dive right in and be sure to subscribe, click the like button, the notification bell, make sure you get informed so you get all these wonderful topics that are helping to empower you and share it with other women so that they can become aware of this and have these practices. All right, so the first one that I want to share is the concept that when we practice paying attention to the totality of our being, the whole of our being, we are going to, by default, start living more holistically. And when we are paying attention to all areas, we have so much greater capacity to be empowered in our life and our life processes, okay? So what that means is we want to be paying attention to our thoughts, our mindset, what we're thinking, the stories we're telling ourselves, the things we're saying to ourselves, about ourselves, and about others and about life, right? Our complaints, our judgments, etc. We want to be mindful of that and be aware of that. But we also want to notice our emotions. A lot of times our emotions are generated from the thoughts that we have, and but also they can be generated by the traumas that we've had, by the experiences that we've had, which live in us as thoughts, as stories, as experiences that we tell ourselves could happen again or are something to be afraid of, and that kind of thing. So emotions can be generated based on either of those, our past history or what we're thinking in the moment. And we want to be aware of what emotions are living in us. And we also want to be aware of our body, right? What our body's telling us. Are we getting goosebumps in resonance with something that's happening? Or are we finding ourselves contracting and maybe shrinking back and feeling like something is unsafe and not right for us? Is it expansive or contractive in our body? Is our body giving us messages of a need for something? Maybe rest, maybe exercise, maybe art and creativity, who knows what it is, but a lot lives in our bodies. A lot lives in our cellular structure that will inform us of what we need. And then also looking at ourselves spiritually, on a soul spirit level, which might mean in the stillness, the intuitive realm, the unseen realm, the areas of that quiet voice that is the voice of our inner guidance, our inner wisdom. When we start practicing looking at all aspects of our being, our thoughts, emotions, our body, and our spiritual realm, we begin to be able to live differently, to choose differently, to act differently, to engage in relationships differently. I use this every single day. I'm always looking at this. And when I started learning to practice this, everything in my life became so much more coherent and cohesive and connected, and I began to see the connections in things. I started to see where certain thoughts triggered certain emotions and maybe blocked me from achieving something or being able to make a decision or being able to communicate with someone. So when I started looking at all of these aspects and just noticing where I am in my thoughts, in my emotions, in my body, in my soul spirit realm, I was so much better able to make decisions or to determine tasks that were appropriate for me. For instance, I might be struggling with a decision and my thoughts are telling me one thing and my heart or emotions are telling me something else. But if I tune into my body, maybe there's a reconciliation that can happen, maybe there's not. And I can begin to understand and tune in to what's making it difficult to make this decision, which part of me doesn't feel like it's in tune with the other parts, and what fears might be showing up in the form of thoughts or in the form of emotions and old traumas, that kind of thing. Or if I'm trying to do a task and my thoughts are, in one area thinking I should do something, but somehow I keep procrastinating, or I'm not able to get something done or achieve something, chances are that something in there, in that totality of your being, is not coherent, and it's not able to sit down and do the work that you want to do. When we take time and we practice looking at the totality of our being, so much more is possible for us, and we can act every day in everything that we do from a much more empowered and clear place, okay? The second thing I want to take a look at is the concept of ingestion, digestion, and engestion. Now, most of us have heard about ingestion and digestion, but ingestion is really just the third stage of that, okay? We ingest something like food, we digest something like food, and we ingest. In other words, we put it out, we excrete it, we move it out, clear it out, okay? And that process is so important in terms of living more holistically. We need to think about, what are we ingesting? We don't just ingest food. We ingest the air we breathe. We ingest the water we drink. We ingest the experiences that we have. Everything visual is ingested through our sensory. Anything sensory is ingested. What we touch, what we smell, what we taste, what we see. All of that is ingested. And we want to think about that. Like, if you're scrolling social media all day, or if you are having screens on constantly, or something in the background, or noisy voices around you all the time, you're ingesting that. And many times we're not taking time to digest that. It needs to be processed. Maybe if we're on screens, we need to go for a walk in the woods. And that's how we're going to digest it and move it through us. And then the concept of ingestion is, okay, once we've digested it, are we really getting rid of what we don't need and keeping what we do need? Are we learning from the experience? Are we truly clearing things away, or are we holding on to things? Maybe we talk to a friend and we've ingested their trauma and something that they're struggling with, and we're digesting it and contemplating. And then we forget to ingest it, and now we've taken it on rather than just taking it in. We want to be able to take things in without taking them on. Let them go. Let things flow through us. We want to keep that process moving and constantly ask ourselves, am I getting stuck on something? Am I not letting something go? Am I holding on too tightly? Am I not digesting my experience? Am I taking in too much? We want to be looking at that as a very powerful practice in this capacity to live more holistically. That is an incredibly important piece of holistic living, and something you can begin to do today. Notice what you're eating. Notice all your sensory experiences. Notice the noise around you. What's happening? Start paying attention to that. And you don't have to look at every single detail, right? We can become overwhelmed with all the details, but just start with one thing. Notice how well you're able to digest that social media scrolling. Do you need to make sure that you have no screens before bedtime so it's fully digested and you can let go of it through the evening and through the sleep time to ingest it, right? So that is something super important to look at. Another aspect here is we want to look at the expression of self, okay? This is a practice that we should really be paying attention to every single day when it comes to holistic living, because how are we showing up? How are we living? Are we engaging our creative side? Are we looking at the totality of our being and understanding what we need in terms of expressing ourselves as a full human being? Are we willing to express our emotions? Are we willing to, communicate and voice our thoughts? And are we willing to pay attention to our body and express ourselves, maybe through dance, maybe through rest, maybe through some other kind of movement, or physical intimacy, or whatever it is? What is it that we're doing to express ourselves in its totality, right? You can start to see how these all work together to connect more to a holistic lifestyle. And it's something you can do today. How are you expressing yourself? Start noticing how you express yourself, what you need to express, what you're not expressing, what you would like to express, and how you might do that, okay? And the final point, the fourth point, is nature connection. I talk about this so much in many of my videos. Nature is one of those things that, you know, all we have to do is sit with it for a while, be with it, notice its cycles, notice its rhythms, notice the interaction and the intertwining and the interweaving of everything that exists in nature. And we begin to see how holistic life itself is. And if we remember that we are nature, right? We are the bees, we are the trees and the river and the sky and the stars. We are all of that. How does it express within us, right? What is the archetype of the squirrel that lives in us? How does it live in us? What is the archetype of the wind when we hear the wind rustling in the trees, and how is that living in us, right? We have all of these archetypes, all aspects within us as well. And when we can begin to commune with nature, it helps us commune with ourselves. It helps us commune with our being and our thoughts and feelings and body and spirit. All of that begins to intertwine. And so these pieces are all so important as a way of looking at life more holistically, archetypally, metaphorically, and stepping back from making everything so literal and, you know, either or, black and white, right? There's so much gray area. And when we can look at everything holistically, we begin to see that it's all connected, and that by seeing it as connected, we also begin to feel so much more empowered, because a lot of times we get tripped up thinking in one area or acting in one area of our life, and we keep banging our head against a wall thinking that we're going to, you know, solve this problem or find this solution or whatever it is. And a lot of times we need to step back. We need to look at a bigger picture. So these are 4 simple habits that you can begin to notice today. I'll review them here quick. One is paying attention to the totality of your being, your body, mind, spirit, and emotions, okay? The second one is this cycle of ingestion, digestion, and gestion. What are you taking in, processing, and letting go of? Following that cycle, okay? The third is how you express yourself. Are you expressing the totality of your being, or are you only, you know, allowing one area of expression and not another, or only, you know, taking things as expressions of others instead of fully, truly connecting to your own creative expression, right? And finally, nature connection. All right, those are 4 powerful ways, tuning into nature, allowing yourself to make those connections and tune in with the rhythm and the cycles. 4 powerful ways that you can begin connecting more holistically, tuning into that holistic lifestyle and a more empowered lifestyle right now, today. You can do all of these things today, even nature. Just go outside and listen to the birds. Take a step out and feel the wind on your face. Notice the plant in your living room, right? There's always something. Maybe your pet is there with you. Tune in, right? There's always something you can do with all 4 of these pieces to notice and start living more holistically. Share in the comments if these resonate, how you practice living holistically. I think these are unusual practices that we don't tend to think about that are super important, because they actually can empower us. They can actually help us shift our way of being and align more with how and who we want to show up as, right? Share in the comments your thoughts. Be sure to subscribe and let me know if there are other questions about this, or about holistic living, or feeling more empowered, or even some of these topics that I shared with you today, these processes, these ideas. I'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you next time.